Hello students, how are you? I hope all are fine. Once again, I am Mr. K. Selvamani sitting in front of you. First of all, welcome all of you to our YouTube channel. This is Python video lesson number 49. In previous lesson, that is Python video lesson number 48, we started the new concept that is called as GUI application. How to create GUI application in Python using tkinter model. That is what we started in last lesson. We created two application, GUI application. One, how to create one label, and then how to create one button. That is what we learned. While using button, already in last lesson we studied callback function. Callback function can be called by either command handler or by bind. There are two ways. So while using button widget, callback function. That means when you click the button, one function will call. That is callback function. Callback function can be called either by command handler or by bind function. There are two ways we studied. Out of this command handler, how to use command handler, we studied in previous lesson. Now we will see bind. Before studying bind, we should know event source. Event source, we must know. What is event source? For command button, while clicking the leftmost button, one event will generate. Similarly, while clicking rightmost button, one more event will generate. These are called as a event. So what are the events are there? We must know. So there are list of events are there. We will study it now. Events in bind method. First one is button 1. This is the event which will be called or it will be raised when leftmost button is pressed. That means we are having one button in GUI application. Above the button, if you click leftmost button, this button 1 event will generate. Then we have to call with the help of bind. That we will see afterwards. Similarly, we can copy it in. This is button 2. When middlemost button is clicked. In old is the 22 or 30 years before mouse, we are having middle mouse. Nowadays, middle mouse is not available, so no need to worry about this one. Similarly, button 3, even button 3 will be raised when rightmost button is clicked or pressed. Rightmost button pressed. Fourth one is button release. Button release -1. This function will call when leftmost button is released. When leftmost button is released. So one mouse click is one pressed as well as one released. Similarly, double button 1. double hyphen button hyphen 1, double hyphen button hyphen 1. When double click is when double click when double left mouse click double click left mouse double click. Sixth one is enter. When the mouse enters, when mouse pointer enter the widget. So button is there. If we move the button above the button, when we move the mouse above the button, this will call. Similarly, exit. When you leave the widget, it will call. So not exit, it is leave. Enter as well as leave. When mouse pointer left the widget. Eighth one is V1 button. V1 button. V1 motion. When mouse moved with left button pressed. So these are the event will rise when the mouse button is pressed. Button 1 will rise. When the middle button pressed, button 2 will be raised. As well as when right mouse button is pressed, button 3 will be raised. When the left mouse button is released, button release 1 will call. When double mouse click, double button 1 will be raised. When the mouse pointer entered the widget, enter will call. When the mouse pointer left the widget, leave will call. Here V1 motion. When drag means click and drag the left mouse button. Click and along with mouse moved with the left button pressed. That is called V1 motion will call. Now we will see one by one with the help of simple one program. Here first we have to import from tkinter import button. Okay. After this, we want to create one button. Button 1 is the one object which should be created in button class. We should have. Now there is no top level window. That is why it is none, comma text. The text should be displayed is press me. So we are creating one button with the text press me. We have to pack first. Button 1 dot pack. Good. Then we must call button 1 dot main load. So far whatever we studied in previous lesson only we are using, nothing new. First we will save it and then run. We will see one by one. I just run the program. One error shows button spelling mistake. should be single row. Okay, now we are having one application that has one button. If we click the button, nothing happens now. Okay, now we are not creating any command handler. We are not doing any command handler here. Okay, good. Now after this, button one dot bind here, button one. This is the one event which will rise. This event will rise when we click the leftmost button. Comma show fun one. That's all. So we should have one function, callback function. The function name should be show fun. Event one print leftmost button pressed. Click button. Click, pressed. That's all. First, I will save the program, and then the program we will see the output, and then I will explain once again. It shows one error. Show fun. It should be show fun one. Here we are giving only show fun one. So no error. Just I click it here. Clicking, I press the mouse button, left mouse button. See the left button pressed. See it here now. So here it calls show fun. Then left button pressed. Then left button pressed. That's all. So button one dot bind. When you click the left mouse button over the button one, this button one event will be raised. This button one event will be stored into event one. In addition to that, show fun will be called. Show fun one will be called. That it has only one line, that is print leftmost button. That is what we see. You will see once again the leftmost button. Likewise, we can write for remaining event. Control C, Control V. So similarly, button 2, I don't have now. Mouse does not have middle button. So button 3, that is right button pressed. So we should have function 2. Similarly here, Control C as well as Control V. It should be function 2. It should be right button pressed. Right button means right mouse button pressed. Right button pressed. Good. Afterwards, we have to bind third one, that is V1 motion. V1 hyphen motion. V1 hyphen motion. V1 hyphen motion. It should be number 3. This is not placed 2 times. show country. Here mouse moved with left button pressed. Mouse moved with left button pressed. 3 are over. This is called show fun 1. This is called show fun 2. This is called show fun 3. When mouse with left button pressed. Similarly, button released 1. Button released 1. Released 1. That is leftmost button is released. Show fun 4. Left button released. This is show fun 4. Mouse left button released. Good. Similarly, double button 1. That means double click. Double button 1. Show fun 5. Show fun 5 called when you double click. Double. This is show fun 5. Double click. Sixth one, enter. Enter means when the mouse enters the widget. So fun 6. So fun 6. When mouse enters. Button 1. So fun 6. Mouse enters. Last one, leave. Leave. Call so fun 7 when mouse leaves the button. Leaves the button. That's all. First, as usual, I will save the program and then run the program. You will see the output. After this, I will explain you one by one. So now, see, our GUI application has one button. That is called as button number 1. Button 1. Good. If I move the mouse above the button 1, then immediately enter this calls. This event will be generated. When the event enter generated, this bind call show.6. Show.6 is there. Mouse enters button. This mouse enters button will be displayed. See it here. Whenever we leave when the mouse leaves the button, then immediately mouse enters. Mouse left did not work. We will see one error is there. Mouse leaves. So we are calling show.6. It should be show.7. We are running only 6 and 7. This should be 7. Mouse leaves the button. We run the program. We will see once again. Now the mouse button enters the button 1. So mouse enters button appears. If we leave it, mouse leaves the button appears. See it here. So when the mouse leaves the button 1, this leave event will generate. In addition to that, the bind call show.7. Show.7 has one statement, mouse leaves button, that appears simple. So enters as well as leaves. Good. What about left mouse button pressed? That means left button press. Left button press means what? This button 1 event will be generated. Then show.1 is called. In show.1, left button press is when we release the left button, then mouse left button released. See it here. Here button release 1. This will call. When you left the left mouse button, when you leave the release the left mouse button, it calls. Similarly, if I press the right mouse button, so right button pressed. Afterwards, I just click and drag above this one. See, mouse moved with the left mouse button. Mouse moved with the left mouse button. If I double click, then left button pressed or left mouse double click is called. Double click. Okay, that is what we must know. So the bind, the command button, or simply we can call it as a button, is a event source. When you're doing some work above the button, just like a left button click, right button click, double click, as well as mouse drag, enter the mouse button, as well as left the mouse button, left the button, the corresponding event will generate. When the corresponding event generate, the function will be called. That is the concept behind this program. Next we will see, so far we are not using any top level window. We are using only widget. How to create a top level window, that we must know. We'll write one more program. Import tkinter. Then we must create one top level window, that is root1 equal to tk dot capital TK. It creates a top level window. Creates top level window. Root1 as top level window. Okay. So above this root1, that is top level window, we want to add one label. So a label 1 equal to label. So previously we are putting here none, because in previous program we are not using any top level window. Now we are using top level window, that is called as root1. If you are not using any top level window, you have to mention none. Now we are using top level window. Now text. What text it should be? It should be hello world. So we are creating one label above the top level window, that is root1, with the text hello world. This label 1 should be packed. And previously we are using widget.main loop. Now we are using root1. So root1.main loop. Okay. save the program, we will see the output. It shows one error. TK. TK dot. We are not mentioning model here. Now we are creating one top level window that is called as root 1. Above the root 1, we are placing one label that is called as label 1 with the text hello world. In addition to that, if you want to change the text which is already created with the label 1, we can use config method. How? Now we will see it here. After this, label 1 dot config. In bracket, we have to mention. Now previously we are using hello world. Instead of hello world, we can give some other text. Success, hello success. That's all. We can save and then we can run. Now instead of world, hello world, we are having hello success. So today I stop here itself. I hope all of you enjoyed this lesson very well. In next lesson, we will study a little bit more. Until then, thank you students. Bye bye.